Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back, everybody. You are now tuned into High at 9 News. Thank you all for joining us yet again to get High at 9 with us, but also high noon on the East Coast. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street, and hopefully we will be joined momentarily by Jason Beck. He's having a little technical issues hopping into the room, but it is Friday, December 23rd, 2022. Today is National Roots Day, encouraging folks to delve into their family history, heritage, and ancestry. National Pfeffernuss Day, a celebration of delicious German holiday spice cookie. And for the rest of us, it is Festivus, a yearly celebration created by the great anti-capitalist himself, George Costanza. For everybody watching, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to High at 9 News on all social media platforms. We're live weekdays on YouTube and Twitch, audio only on Clubhouse. But if you do choose the Clubhouse route, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story presented. We will be getting things started in just a second here. Hey, Gretchen, nice to see you.
Where's everybody?
Taking holidays off like some chumps.
Oh, chumps.
We're going to get started in just a second here, guys. But before that, a message.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit and hustle and diversity of our great city of Angels, and we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
The thoughts and opinions and shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of individual speakers and not those of any other speaker or his followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or any of its authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary responsibility or relationship. Our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever on the part of any speaker on stage. And if you are an easily offended person, we feel bad for you. But Jason Beck, are you ready for us? Are you at least in Clubhouse right now? You got Jason in Clubhouse? Ah, yeah.
Nope.
Nope. You want to go first, Gretchen? You want me to rock?
Hey, this reminds me of good old Vegas when no one else showed up.
Hey, I was walking around on the floor for an hour searching for y'all motherfuckers. Here we go. Jason Beck.
Oh, here he is.
You got sound?
Do we have sound?
You got a clear video.
That's one thing.
You want me to just start it off then? With my story?
Just do me. We'll come back to you guys. You guys don't always have to go first.
I know, man. I'm always down for that.
I put on my Christmas lights, but I couldn't get them to blink. Oh, well.
Oh, man. That reminds me. I got some shit for y'all. Okay. So coming up first, you know who it is. It is the pumpkin spicy redhead, conservative, well known in DC circles for cooking up excellence in the kitchen. But don't you dare let that apron fool you. She will beat the hell out of any pot loving libs across the aisle, verbally, not physically. We do not endorse violence on here anymore. But next week, if all goes according to plan, you know who she'll be collecting a couple of Benjamins from Mr. Jason Beck, if he gets some audio fixed on the other side. You know who it is. It is the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What do you have on us on this beautiful Festivus morning?
Good afternoon from DC, where the cyclone bomb is just hitting us now. So temperatures are dropping, but it's still hot in cannabis. A bipartisan group of 29 congressional lawmakers pushes Biden to back marijuana legalization. This is coming from Marijuana Moment. A bipartisan group of 29 congressional lawmakers from both the House and Senate sent a letter to President Joe Biden on Thursday asking that he formally back federal marijuana legalization as the administration carries out a review of cannabis scheduling at his direction. The letter, the text of which was obtained by Marijuana Moment last week, was circulated by Congressional Cannabis Caucus co-chairs Representative Earl Blumenauer, Dave Joyce, Barbara Lee, and Brian Mast, as well as Senator Elizabeth Warren, and has gained about 24 additional signatories. While we do not always agree on specific measures, we recognize across the aisle that continued federal prohibition and criminalization of marijuana does not reflect the will of the broader American electorate. It's time that your administration's agenda fully reflect this reality as well. And since we are short on folks today, I might as well read everybody who signed this damn letter. Representative Earl Blumenauer, Representative Dave Joyce, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Representative Barbara Lee, Representative Brian Mast, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, Representative Nancy Mace, Representative Jim McGovern, Representative Nikema Williams, Representative Jared Huffman, Representative Dina Titus, Representative Troy Carter, Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, Representative Jan Schakowsky, Representative Katie Porter, member, Representative Matt Gates, Representative Seth Moulton, Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, Representative Lou Correa, Representative Mike Quigley, Representative Steve Cohen, Representative Marie Newman, Representative Mark Pocan, Representative Angie Craig, Representative Dwight Evans, Representative Salud Carbajal, Representative Cory Bush. Marijuana does not belong in Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act, a classification intended for exceptionally dangerous substances with high potential for abuse and no medical use. The decision to schedule marijuana was rooted in stigma rather than an evidence-based process, and it's time to fully remedy this wrong. Descheduling marijuana can uphold federal and state authority to regulate cannabis, while also authorizing states that wish to continue to prohibit cannabis production and sales the right to do so. It continues on, noting that the House has twice passed legislation to federally legalize, tax, and regulate cannabis. It also says, additionally, unjust scheduling of marijuana and normalizing federal cannabis regulations go hand in hand, like ending restrictions placing disproportionate burden on researchers seeking to study marijuana compared to other Schedule I substances. The federal government must correct this prohibition and the continued criminalization of otherwise legal marijuana, allowing research to meaningfully advance, creating legal job opportunities, promoting public safety, not just incarceration, and upholding established state regulation of cannabis production, taxation, and sales. It ends with, we cannot negate the need for legislative action and federal guidance on many of these components, but all branches of the federal government must recognize the need for the descheduling of marijuana and in a manner that the will of each state and the markets and regulations that are within their authority to establish. The letter was sent to the president and key cabinet officials following a pair of major setbacks for advocates, with lawmakers failing to attach marijuana banking and other reforms to either the NDA or the omnibus appropriations legislation this month. It goes on, and good old Marijuana Moment talks about how hard Chuck Schumer worked to get this done and couldn't make it happen. So I won't bore you with that bullshit. But it is important to note that this is a bipartisan effort. I think it is going to fall on deaf ears going to President Biden's desk. I hope that this will help them to rethink how they are looking to reschedule or deschedule. I hope that this really pushes the president to consider descheduling over rescheduling, although what I hear is he's in favor of Schedule 3. This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
Man, if there's anything that this new Republican-led House can do, and an investigation I think that both parties can get behind on Joe Biden is for why he never brought up cannabis legislation in the first 2 fucking years until he tried to make it an October surprise, that bullshit pardon rhetorical exercise of his. I would
Well,
back a congressional investigation on that.
If you want to follow how the Constitution is supposed to work, the president is not supposed to introduce laws. That would be Congress's job. He's just supposed to sign off on them. So, and frankly, I don't agree with people who think that it can get done with an executive action. That's just, there's too much shit going on. You can't just shit.
I think I think that trend and that logic that was bucked, and it was proven to be false by Donald J. Trump. He did everything by executive action, and although I didn't agree with 99% of everything that he did, he got so much fucking done, and he made every other president, Republican or Democrat, look soft by getting all of those, by scaring people into action and making them all fall in line.
I don't know where you're coming up with that one. And frankly, not to, throw stones, but Obama used his executive powers just as much as good old Trump did.
No, he did not. He did not.
As much as I dislike Biden and thinks he's been riding out this whole thing in the bunker at the White House for the past 2 years, one thing he has done, he has gotten major pieces of legislation passed, something that Donald Trump did not do. As much as Joe Biden is a dinosaur, this dinosaur understands the Hill. He understands the old people involved, and he knows how to actually move legislation and get it through. That's one thing Obama was terrible at. Why? Because he was in Congress for 2 years before he became president. He didn't know how to play the game. Joe Biden's been playing the game for a very long time. So if he wanted to, he could get Congress to get something done. That's why I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I appreciate their efforts and, the Christmas spirit. Let's all say kumbaya and, pass legalization, but I don't think it's going to do much.
Yeah. Jason, do you got some audio with us now, brother?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it's not allowing me faster in any way. The only audio I have is from my computer. So I don't know what the hell is going on over here today. So I apologize to our Clubhouse audience in advance and hope everybody migrates over here today.
We still love you, Jason.
That's all I got.
You can still talk to us, just even though your audio is not A1 today. We know that you are. You're still number one in our hearts.
But
Omar, do you think this will have any effect on anything?
I joined late because of technical.
A bunch of lawmakers sent a letter to Biden say, please pass legalization.
As a symbolic gesture, I think they're grandstanding, but Biden, like you said, it knows how to work the system and could work the system if it was a huge priority for him. I think he's just gonna wait and see which way the wind blows and then chime in at the last second.
He's gonna. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that, man.
I do.
He's not gonna be with us long enough to wait on anything. Just put it that way.
All I can hope for Joe is that he tells these folks that he is asked to look into rescheduling and legalization, to tell them to keep an open mind. I hope he does not come at this as, this is what we're doing, just give me the evidence that I need. I hope he's thoroughly will accept their findings, and I hope that they are good enough to give him actual findings instead of what they think he wants to hear.
The problem is I don't think any of the findings are going to be descheduled entirely. And this is because bureaucrats have been tasked with analyzing this. And so they don't have the cojones, to use a technical legal word, to really just deschedule entirely, because cannabis, from their perspective, is kind of scary and mysterious, and you can't just open the floodgates. That would just let the genie out of the bottle.
I mean, the genie's kind of out of the bottle already.
Yep.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
I think when it comes
out of the tube.
I think when it comes to the descheduling argument, I think the industry needs to step away from, for the good of the people, they need to step away from criminal justice reform. And I know people hate when I say this, but the argument that's going to make sense to these folks is the economic argument, and what a just clusterfuck it is truly going to be if they try and keep a medical program but not wreck. And it's just, you can't do that. You can't have interstate commerce. It doesn't work that way. It's going to be a disaster. I think that's the only argument that's going to make sense to these guys, because they don't understand the medicine. They don't understand the plant. They don't understand all these other aspects of it. But money and taxes, they understand.
I agree with you on that, Gretchen. You might find it surprising, but I do agree with you on most of that
It's a
statement.
Christmas miracle.
Rico, are you able to have the clubhouse room active from your roadcaster? Because otherwise we have no clubhouse today.
Oh no! So just send me the instructions. In between, I'll introduce you.
Instructions, bro. It just, you plug it in and it works.
Yeah. Let me introduce you. Hey, let me introduce you. You start your story, and I'll get this done. All right.
A little behind the scenes action.
We have no clubhouse today. Basically, it's all good.
Let me open that.
We can hold it down.
Yeah, Gretchen. Gretchen, we may need you to cover the story.
Is there a link for it? We have a link for it. We have it today. Okay, perfect. I'm opening it up right now. Boom.
Yeah. I got it. Y'all talk amongst
yourselves. Clubhouse is now open.
With your mics down. Omar Figueroa, the greatest attorney ever. I don't really know your intro, but I know you have a black belt and you're in Northern Cal, and you're who we need to hear from. Omar, please give us your headline.
Okay. Thank you, Gretchen. Happy Friday, everyone. My story is from the South China Morning Post, and it's by Dave Smith. The headline is, "What is it like smoking marijuana as a tourist in Thailand? Weed dispensaries everywhere on a Phuket trip with a difference." In June, Thailand's military junta did something so out of character, it seemed like a joke. The Buddhist kingdom, that until recently had one of the strictest drug laws in the world, became the first country in Asia to decriminalize possession of cannabis for medical and industrial uses. Officially, Thailand has not yet decriminalized recreational marijuana use. Anyone caught enjoying the product without a doctor's note can be imprisoned for up to 3 months. Unofficially, though, Thailand has become the Amsterdam of the East, with thousands of recreational weed dispensaries now trading in the country. Much has been written about the development and how it affects public health, taxation, investment, and foreign relations in Thailand. But what is it like for a tourist who just wants to get stoned? Can you really buy weed anywhere? And are people getting arrested for it? I flew to the resort island of Phuket to find out. And it's not pronounced fuck it, P-H-U-K-E-T, it's Phuket. A red light district on Phuket's west coast, Patong, appears to be the perfect place to conduct my research. Google Maps shows about half a dozen dispensaries within walking distance of my hotel. The nearest, the Smoky Monkey Cannabis Shop, is literally across the road from it. I walk in, passing a few tables where 2 small groups of tourists are sitting smoking weed. "Savasdika," says a female shopkeeper, almost hidden behind a counter covered with more than 50 glass jars containing strains of marijuana with exotic names such as King Kong Fingers and Purple Punch. As well as the names, the labels on the jars indicate the content of THC, which is as potent as 35%. "Be very careful with the dosage," wrote a friend who had just spent a weekend in Bangkok. "I felt like I nearly died. I asked for the lightest one in the shop, got a pre-rolled joint. That tested my sanity. Brutal mind and body meltdown. The walk to my hotel was 500 meters, but felt like 500 miles. I order a gram of the weakest strain in the store, original Thai stick with a THC content of only 13% that cost about $6 per gram. By comparison, the top shelf indica cost up to $30 per gram. The shopkeeper pours some weed out of the jar onto electronic scales, shows me the reading, and puts it in a small resealable bag. I also order a coffee, but cancel after hearing they only have the instant. "Can I smoke it right here?" I asked. "Sure, why not?" "Because I read you can still get arrested for it. What if the police walk past and see?" "If police come here because they have a problem, They talk to me because I am the seller, she says. They never bother the customers since we opened 4 months ago. Convinced enough, I take a seat at a table. In the middle is a tray with everything I need to roll a joint: cigarette papers, cardboard filters, a lighter on a string to prevent stoners from pocketing it, and a small handheld weed grinder. The first joint I roll is crooked but good enough to light up. I smoke it while making small talk with a British backpacker sitting at the next table. It is his first trip to Thailand, and for him, what we are doing seems perfectly normal. After all, tourists have been smoking weed in Thailand since the Vietnam War ended in 1975. But for me, the situation could not be more surreal. In 2005, as a junior reporter in Bangkok, I covered, among other things, a savage war on drugs that saw police shoot dead 3,000 suspects, dirt poor methamphetamine addicts from the slums. The privileged were also targeted, but not in the same way. There were random raids at high society nightclubs where everyone was urine tested for ecstasy. Those who failed were shaken down for thousands of dollars. And in Bangkok backpacker district Hao San Road, police would race around on motorbikes, pouncing on tourists and frisking them for weed. It happened to me once. It frightened the life out of me. But I digress. Where was I? I'm kind of stoned. Where am I? I'm smoking weed in Thailand, something I never would have done when I worked here, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Feeling somewhat restless, I stuff the rest of the weed back into the bag, pocket it, and stumble outside. A little further down the street, a couple of shopkeepers giggle at me. Do they know I'm high? How? Am I acting strangely? I ask myself before glancing down at my t-shirt. It is covered with crumbs of marijuana that escaped the grinder. I dust myself off while trying not to look like a total stoner and keep on walking. Not that anyone cares. Further down the street, I see a local and 2 tourists sharing a fat blunt on the pavement. Later in the evening, after a double serving of chicken massaman curry, a chocolate banana pancake, and a well-earned afternoon nap, I return to Patong's mean streets for round 2. There are endless rows of souvenir shops, restaurants, bars, street food stalls, ticket vendors, and massage joints. But business is not good. Phuket is still in the throes of the coronavirus recession, with international arrivals down 85% compared with 2019, according to the Phuket Immigration Office. Yet, just about every weed shop I see in Patong over the weekend, and there are more than 100 of them, has customers buying or smoking. In the evening, some are packed to the rafters. The variety of shop fronts runs the gamut from dimly lit reggae bars to cutting-edge minimalist marijuana boutiques, and the sector appears to be almost entirely dominated by women. What I don't find in Patong are dispensaries that also sell food and drinks. I imagine rustic restaurants serving indigenous Thai food with marijuana, a tradition from the Northern Hill Tribe region. Venues such as the Smoky Monkey do sell marijuana cookies and cakes, but most don't bother. They're making too much money as it is. On my last night in Patong, I find a dispensary that is brightly lit and has the look and feel of a doctor's practice with a name to match, Ananta Medical Cannabis Clinic. It is run by 2 tall individuals, Porn and Mina, who carry themselves like nurses and even have a doctor on staff who specializes in medical cannabis, they say. Only he isn't there at the time of my visit. Most of the weed at Ananta is imported from California. Surprise, surprise, I'm told, and the THC content is between 20% and 35%. We do everything under doctor's control and according to the law, says Mina, showing me the wares. But now we have a big problem in Thailand because when they said smoking marijuana was okay, everyone started selling. No need for a license. Some people also sell to children at school. In November, photos of young children smoking weed in broad daylight went viral in Thailand, causing an uproar. A few days later, a Bangkok administrative court accepted a lawsuit filed by a doctor and opposition lawmakers seeking an order to nullify the government's decriminalization of marijuana until new regulations are put in place. Back in Phuket, Mina isn't worried about another marijuana U-turn in Thailand. Even if the central government recriminalized, she says, people in Phuket would ignore it. But she also supports the call for laws such as an edict announced a few weeks before my visit that bans smoking weed inside stores, except certified medical cannabis clinics. Mina has pinned a copy of the edict to the wall, but acknowledges it isn't being enforced by police. The only weed-related thing police do now, she says, is pick up people they catch smoking on the street because it contravenes a public health ordinance and is an opportunity to shake them down. As we talk, a Caucasian male in his early 20s lying on a sofa near the front moans, and not in a good way. He sits up suddenly and hides his head in his hands. Mina gives him a bottle of water, then sits alongside him, holding his hand until his condition stabilizes. He just screamed out, she tells me. The grass is too strong. Buying and smoking weed in Thailand is not like it was before decriminalization, when the dealer you met at a bar or on the beach had a bag of bush buds with a THC content in the single digits. It is now a data-driven retail solution for the distribution of hybrid, hydroponically grown weed with a THC content that is far higher than nature intended, a model copied from Amsterdam. Whenever I ask a storekeeper at a dispensary to recommend something, they invariably point to the most potent stuff, saying it will give me a real buzz. But I stick to the organic stuff, and I'm nicely stoned all weekend. And a word to the wise, cannabis is still seen as a Class A narcotic in many other parts of Asia. Even a few crumbs on your shirt can land you in hot water. If you try some in Thailand, shake out your trousers, your handbag, everything you own over a white bedsheet before boarding a flight to make sure you and your luggage are crumb-free. My take is I like the story and its first-person perspective. Although the writer is a cannabis novice, this story shows the potential of cannabis travel writing. I can't help but imagine how much better a story like this could be if written by a cannabis connoisseur who has taken the time to curate cannabis-related experiences in advance and gives us Ganjier-style evaluations of Thailand's finest. Imagine reading in exquisite detail about cannabis and fine dining, cannabis and Muay Thai, and cannabis and spa treatments, including Thai massage. The headline is, what is it like smoking marijuana as a tourist in Thailand? Weed dispensaries everywhere on a Phuket trip with a difference. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and Ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County, the traditional territory of the Pomo, Miwok, and Wapo nations, for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
Omar, I want to license your voice for my GPS. No, thank you for this the story. I think it was a beautiful story, and also correcting people with the enunciation of Phuket. I always thought it was fuck it as well.
That's what I thought too. I actually looked it up for this story, and it's Phuket with the emphasis on the second syllable.
Nobody ever corrected me, or I've never.
That's because you've been hanging out with Jason Beck too much.
That's because we pronounce it fuck it.
We're huge fans of four-letter words in these parts of the country, Gretchen.
P's and F's have the same syllable sound.
Anybody from Clubhouse have a comment so I can test this as well?
But if everyone could though go and check out our Twitter poll because it relates to a story that's going to be coming up. Also, too, we do have a present.
Oh, sweet.
Because we're going to coming up on Christmas. A Noom to give away. This is a portable dabbing device. You can dab on the go, courtesy of our friends over at tokendab.com. And whoever
I'm okay.
has the most comments in our chat today And you also have to share us on social media, whether it's on Instagram or on Twitter. It doesn't matter, either one, but you got to share us. And whoever has the most comments in our chat today is going to win this.
Nice.
Omar, I got a question for you on your story. Do you think that this article really shed any real light on the legality of cannabis in Thailand? If you can use it, if you can't, I don't know if it was that helpful for a real tourist.
Well, I think it really tells you the enforcement on the ground. And if you're a consumer and you're inside the store, you're copacetic. But if you're like walking around smoking cannabis like a newbie, then you're going to get shaken down by the cops. And that's not written into the law that you get shaken down when you're in public, but that's just the reality that you can only learn from somebody who's been there.
They want you to consume inside their dispensaries.
Or not in public.
Not in public. Okay.
Kind of like in Holland, it's the same thing. Like, it's not cool to be smoking cannabis in public because there's kids and there's people who are not into cannabis around. So but in Holland, it's not enforced by cops coming in to shake you down. They just arrest you. It's but in Holland, it's not enforced by
You guys heard that, right?
Yes.
Clubhouse works. Are Thai massages, are real Thai massages, are they any good?
Real Thai massages.
The non-strip mall Thai massages.
Real
question.
There's one in my town where they literally walk on you and they have like handrails on the ceiling so that they can literally walk on your back, and they're extremely painful. But I think after Muay Thai, it's not that painful.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I think we got our technical gremlins figured out for the most part, Jason.
We at least have the spare tire on.
Hey, we're rolling on a donut, but you know what?
Yeah.
Add a little pizza at Green Street, and you got Friday morning done right.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's halftime right now. You want to take us into the break?
Let's play a quick commercial, and we'll get right back to the news.
All right, let's do a little test in the background, and we'll bring you back, guys. Right back.
Want to grow some of the best weed in the world? Then you must start with the best genetics in the world. Go to www.dnagenetics.shop to order regular, feminized, or autoflower beans. All of your favorite DNA genetics cultivars such as Kosher Kush, Skywalker Kush, and oh yeah, Chocolate Truffle Shuffle. Boasting more cannabis awards for their award-winning genetics than any other company in the world. Remember to go to www.dnagenetics.shop to see why our terps don't lie.
Clubhouse. Checking 1 2. Can you guys hear me in Clubhouse? Can you guys hear me? Clubhouse. Checking 1 2. I hear Clubhouse, but can you guys hear me in Clubhouse?
We hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah. But can you guys hear me in Clubhouse?
Well, Rico, because you're not unmuted on Clubhouse. Can you hear us? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me in Clubhouse?
Well, Rico, because you're not.
I don't know what you think, Jason.
I don't know. I mean, we just got to keep it moving, bro. We're having a lot of technical difficulties.
So I can do it. You want to do your story? Or you want me to do mine?
And we're gonna blame it all on this storm. Just so you know.
I blame it on the bomb cyclone that hit Los Angeles last night with 51-degree weather, and it is fucking cold. That's why I have my Frosty the Snowman.
Y'all are complaining about 51 degrees. Oh, bless your hearts.
Hold on, it's supposed to be 40 degrees in Miami today.
Yeah, it's gonna be negative 20.
40 degrees in Miami.
BBL cannot stop 41 degrees out of Miami. You got to cover that.
You still not believe in global warming, Jason Beck?
No, because this is global freezing, not global warming.
Oh, yeah, you sound just like Donald Trump.
I'm just saying. Let's call it what it is. Global freezing.
Global freezing. Well, I guess.
All right, whatever.
Keep moving.
All right,
Let's go your story, Jason. Come on.
here
We have
go.
we have the technically challenged longest operating retailer in the world, Craig, in the world, coming to the stage next down in Mar-a-Lago. You might catch him with a mink coat on because it's 41 degrees this weekend. But if not, he's out here in West Hollywood doing the damn thing as the president of cannabis tourism and smoking on the best weed in the world every day, all day, and sometimes on the weekends too. Jason Beck, what do you have for us on this beautiful Friday morning?
Oh, yeah. Today, my story comes out of Wisconsin, which is a state we don't typically cover that often. But Governor Evers is again to propose marijuana legalization in the state's budget. That's right. Governor Tony Evans said he'll reintroduce a plan to legalize marijuana for adult use as part of the budget he unveils to lawmakers early next year. But Evers said he'd also sign a bill to legalize medical marijuana if GOP lawmakers send one to his desk. Evers and Republicans have been at odds over how to regulate marijuana ever since he took office. In his first budget, Evers proposed decriminalizing certain amounts of marijuana, an idea Republicans rejected. And Evers called for the full legalization of cannabis, which GOP lawmakers also voted down. In an interview Tuesday, Evers said he would reintroduce his plan to legalize adult use cannabis next year. In a quote, "It's going to be the budget," Evers said. "No question about it." It was his sense that GOP lawmakers might be willing to accept something less than full legalization. There's an increasing number of people in the legislature that might be willing to go towards medical marijuana, Evers said. If the legislature can around medical marijuana, I certainly would. GOP support for medical marijuana was tepid last season, although a handful of Republican lawmakers are vocal supporters. Republicans held a public hearing in April on a plan to legalize the drug for medical use, but the move came after the legislature had already for the year, meaning the bill could not pass. State Senator Mary Flezikowski, Republican from Irma, described the hearing as a significant step to win over reluctant Republican lawmakers. Felolowski is a cancer survivor who has said she wishes medical cannabis had been an option during her recovery. Wisconsin is on its way to becoming an island amongst Midwest states when it comes to use cannabis, and already marijuana is legal. And Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz, a Democrat, said his state would pass a bill to legalize marijuana by May. 37 states allow for medical use of cannabis products, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. A total of 21 states allow for the sale of adult use cannabis as well. While medical marijuana has been a tough sell in Wisconsin, state government, the public strongly supports it, though. A 2019 Marquette University Law School poll found that 83% of voters favored legalizing medical cannabis, and more recently, a February Marquette poll found that 61% of Wisconsin voters favored legalization of adult use cannabis, including majorities of both Republicans and Democrats. Despite public support, Evers conceded his proposal to legalize adult use cannabis may be a non-starter in the legislature. In a quote, "Even though the people of Wisconsin by huge numbers in polling support adult use cannabis in the state of Wisconsin, I just don't know if the Republicans are there yet," Evers said. "All I know is talk on the Republican side from what I've side." Evers also said Tuesday that he opposes a Republican idea to move a flat tax where all taxpayers pay the same rate regardless of their income. Senate Majority Leader Devin LeMahieu, Republican from Utsburg, said after the November election that he favored a flat tax in Wisconsin. The state currently has a progressive income tax where people who earn more money pay a higher tax rate. LeMahieu has since said that toward a 3.5% flat tax. Evers said Tuesday that he was not a fan of the flat tax and would instead call for cutting income taxes for middle-class residents by another 10%. The flat tax at the end of the day helps folks the top end ever said, and I don't think it's needle class. Another, it just keeps on going about their taxes and whatnot. But it looks like all of our friends out in the great state of Wisconsin could possibly be able to have some cannabis sometime soon. What do y'all think? Oh, and this is Jason reporting for High at 9 News. Sorry, I'm a little out of it today, guys.
No, man, you are good. And we're working the best that we can through this these technical difficulties, man. But big shout out to Wisconsin. I really hope that they do get cannabis very soon. And it's crazy. And I got to give a huge shout out to your boy, Scott Walker, the old school, who did this damage on the way out, effectively castrating every Democrat that came after him on the way out the door, so they can't do shit going forward. And you have Wisconsin, one of the biggest stoner states in the world, that can't even fucking push shit forward. So big ups to everybody out there, all of the activists and advocates out there that have been steadily doing their thing over the last few years. My man Big Mike Robinson out there. There's so many people that I know out in the great state of Wisconsin that just try to do their thing and move this legislation forward. And I hope that they do actually move through the finish line on this one. What do you think, Omar?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we're seeing the change coming from like a governor and from the legislature, whereas traditionally the reform came from the people directly or from like voter initiatives. So I think it's great that politicians are wising up that cannabis is a winning issue and will increase voter turnout and will, increase voter engagement. So I think that's all positive.
I would suspect, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I would suspect that Wisconsin doesn't have voter ballot initiatives. Many states on the eastern side of the country, even though Wisconsin's in the middle, doesn't allow for that. And so we have to rely on the legislatures to put forward something. I think it's a good thing. I think whenever you have a governor that's on board, that's what you need. You need a governor to push this through. You can't just have a couple of vocal guys in your assembly trying to get this done. So I hope that Wisconsin can get it done. I'm sure that they see what's going on in the states around them, and they just want to be a part of it. So I also have high hopes for good old Wisconsin and getting some legalization.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. What's up,
Oh,
guys?
God bless America. Good Lord, I can speak. Yes, so I would like to say on Wisconsin, just first and foremost, anyone that knows anyone from Wisconsin, get them connected to us, because I've had the hardest time finding individuals, especially of color, social equity, individuals, entrepreneurs and business owners who would want to even enter or want to, I would say, work on the advocacy side, because as much as I do support the governor doing an executive order, my concern is after that order is done, the actual regulations and the promulgation, and the creating of the rules and regulations, how is that going to make sure that opportunities afforded for small, mid-sized social equity entrepreneurs and not just greedy cannabis? So that's my only concern. And I know that I'm willing to work with any group that is in Wisconsin. So
Roz, say less. I got you literally right after the show, maybe even before after the show. I got my people I got plenty of black folks in Wisconsin. I'll connect you with immediately.
And that's the thing about it. People don't think there's a lot of black folks in Wisconsin. It's a lot of black folks and a lot of people that went to jail for this plant. Many years is a lot. It's a lot of stoners. I mean, it's a lot, right? So legalization shouldn't be an issue for Wisconsin, but we sometimes, because it's so far north, and I'm in Florida, and I'm, and 40 degrees is like 2 degrees to me when it's, that cold. And so when you're so far removed from a state like that, sometimes you lose sight of what's going on. And I think we just need to pay attention that it's a major state, does not have any type of legalization on the books right now.
Oh, 100%. We just got to keep that, just the movement going, and just close the loop on all of the rest of these states that have been laggards along the way. We need to make sure that the cannabis legislation goes forward, even if it's a Gretchen beloved states' rights first.
Well,
Let them
and
go.
we also have to remember that there is power in numbers. If you want to push stuff federally, we need more states on board. While
How many
we
more
do have a
states do
number
we
of
need?
medical states, you need a good over 30 if you want adult use states on board. Yeah, you need over 30 at least. And we're only at 22, so you got to keep pushing. Don't give me that. Yeah, you need a lot for these guys to wake up and take notice. A lot. That's a Gretchen side right there, Rico.
You need a lot of. That's right. That's all right. Well,
We're gonna keep it going. Roz, since you're still on here with us, we're gonna keep it rolling with you. Next, we have the woman, the myth, the legend, coming out of the great state of Florida. Also, the founder and creator of the Black Buddha Cannabis Ultimate brand that's going nationwide these days, and the founder and CEO of M4MM. Coming to the stage next, you know who it is, Roz McCarthy.
Yay! Man, you're the best. You're the best introducer in the world, Rico. I love you. Happy holidays, everyone. So happy to be on. Good morning, good afternoon. My story is coming from Marijuana Moment, and it says, Twitter stopped suggesting people who search for marijuana, quote unquote, may need drug treatment. Now, when I saw this, I thought this was the craziest thing because I had no idea this was going on. So let's make sure this link is up on top for Clubhouse folks as well, because you have to see this and you have to share this because it's crazy. So long story short, Twitter appears to have ended a federal partnership that had presented users who searched the site for certain drug-related keywords, including marijuana, with a suggestion that they consider entering drug treatment. No such suggestion had appeared for alcohol searches. Launched in 2020, the feature has been a source of contention for advocates who criticized the social media company for suggesting that any interest in marijuana is indicative of a potential substance misuse problem. It did not. I can't pronounce this word. Disaggregate. I'm sorry. It did not disaggregate searches for policy, news, and products, for example. At some point this month, the feature, which was rolled out in concert with the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, also known as SAMHSA, was suspended without notice. Maybe that was Elon Musk. It's possible that an agreement between Twitter and SAMHSA for the search feature expired, or that it was removed amid new site owner Elon Musk's efforts to pare back various services since taking over the company. Marijuana Moment reached out to Twitter about the timing and reasoning for the change, but a representative was not immediately available. Help is available if you or someone you know is struggling with substance use. You are not alone. The prior warning said it directed users to SAMHSA's helpline and website. While promoting substance misuse treatment isn't necessarily problematic on its own, advocates have pushed back about the fact that Twitter chose to peg these notices to marijuana and certain other currently illegal drugs in particular, while allowing alcohol search results to be displayed on the platform without a similar warning. Interestingly, while the SAMHSA treatment resources were flagged for Twitter users who searched for marijuana, cocaine, and heroin, searches for cannabis, LSD, MDMA, psilocybin pills, Adderall, and other drug-related terms came with no such invitation to consider getting help further. Further, highlighting the arbitrary nature of the past feature on the social media platform. It's possible that SAMHSA proactively sought to end the partnership, especially considering that the head of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which the agency falls under, has been taking to Twitter in recent weeks to discuss federal marijuana policies, including more than one tweet posted at precisely 4:20 p.m. SAMHSA did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Musk, meanwhile, has inserted himself in the marijuana debate on several occasions, including on Twitter. He got into hot water for puffing a blunt during a podcast interview with Joe Rogan in 2018. He later claimed he never inhaled it, prompting a federal investigation over his company, SpaceX, workplace safety and adherence to a drug-free environment. The next year, when shares of his other company, Tulsa, hit $420, he responded on Twitter with crying, laughing emojis and said, "Whoa, this stock is so high, LOL." He also raised the attention of the Federal Securities and Exchange Commission in 2018 after he said he was considering taking Tesla private after a share price of $420, an announcement the SEC described as false and misleading, and that was made without required notification to regulators. So, long story short, I did not know first that this was being done, but the fact that it's been removed, I suspect that Elon Musk and his commitment to reshaping what Twitter looks like was able to get this disbanded. I'm Roz McCarthy reporting for High News at 9. Would love to hear your thoughts.
What do you think, Jason? Your boy Elon, as Malik calls him, must.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly one of the reasons why we have this Twitter poll going on today. So make sure that you go to our Twitter page. It's pinned up at the top. We're trying to bring back the hashtag 420. We want the hashtag 420 to be reinstated. Twitter is changing its policies on cannabis. We need to make sure that the hashtag 420 is reinstated.
Honestly,
are you serious? So 420 is not like that's.
I'm 100% serious. It's a banned hashtag. It just shows up as like you're just typing something. If you type hashtag 420, it does not highlight as a hashtag. Twitter needs to reinstate the 420 as a hashtag. So go to the poll. We've tagged Elon Musk. We tagged Twitter. Make sure that you share it with everybody that you know, and let's bring back hashtags.
So Elon Musk was very quick to reinstate Kanye West and to reinstate Donald Trump, but he wouldn't reinstate 420.
Yeah, we need him to reinstate hashtag 420. 100%.
Honestly, when it comes to this decision by Twitter, I think you're giving a little too much credit to Elon Musk. I don't think he probably even noticed that this existed. My money is more on something coming from SAMHSA. If SAMHSA is taking a look at how they're redoing things, then they don't want to look like hypocrites by putting out these warnings when people are looking for stuff on Twitter. I mean, I think Elon can barely keep the lights on. He doesn't know what's going on. I mean, the man is like, are you serious? I don't think he's paying that much attention to this.
You said SAMHSA?
Good morning, good afternoon.
Dr. Felicia.
I think he would. I agree with Gretchen. He would have tweeted about it, asking for a claim if he had taken such a step consciously. Now, that's not to say that some fanboy or fangirl at Twitter themselves did it on their own, thinking it would like reflect well upon their boss and the organization. But he definitely would have been crying desperately for more attention if he had done such a thing. And it's a good thing for him to do. If he wants attention, he might as well start becoming a cannabis advocate on Twitter.
Might as well. Dr. Felicia, final word on this one. What you got?
I was just curious if anyone knew if the policy preceded the Biden administration, or did it come with the Biden administration, or when did the policy begin? Does anyone know? To link to direct you to get help? Jason? I'm talking about putting in marijuana and it taking you to you need help.
Right.
Yeah. When you're saying when did they start that policy initially?
Yes, correct. That's what she's asking.
I have no clue.
Interesting.
As to when that policy was actually enacted. But I do find it interesting that Twitter never banned dispensaries or brands or whatnot from displaying prices on their Twitter posts. But yet, if you search for marijuana, then you would all of a sudden get referred to diversion. Well,
and I'm wondering if there's a little more involved with this, because I've done plenty of marijuana searches before on Twitter. I've never seen this warning pop up. So I don't know if if someone's incessantly searching for it, then after a while they flag you. I've never seen and I don't know. Have you guys? I'm sure you guys have done many of things with marijuana on Twitter before. Have you seen this warning pop up?
Never.
Yeah, that's how I actually originally first started following Project Sam too, actually.
Wow.
So I have seen it happen. I have seen over the years them suggest these different rehab sites. I know I've seen Promises and a couple others whatnot pop up, and I just figured that they were paying for advertising, not that actually it was because of anything I had ever typed in Twitter.
Yeah, I had no idea. I've been hashtagging that shit for a minute, so
I don't know. But make sure you get over to our Twitter and make sure that you comment on our poll. Make sure that you tell your friends all about it, and make sure that you help them, because we need Elon to bring back hashtag 420. And with that, we are going to bring the dope dad himself. That's right, Rico Lamitte. When he is not out wearing orange scarves. Are you kidding me with this orange scarf? You should have a shark shirt back on again today. When he's singing Daddy Shark and dressed up like a snowman, are you a snowman or a penguin just lost in the snow? We can't
Frosty
even
the
tell.
Rico man. You know it
Oh,
is. You know who it
Frosty
is.
the Rico man. Oh my God. Oh man. He's not dressing up in oversized of his daughter's onesies. You can find him at TEDx conventions dressed up in a onesie jumpsuit sport coat as well. That is right. Dope Dad himself, Rico.
All right, thank you for that, Jason. So my story, I hate to end on a sour note, but my story is a little bit of a doozy coming out of MJ Biz Daily. TrueLeave to study ground cannabis hazards in OSHA deal after worker death. So it's been 10 years since cannabis first was legalized in Colorado and Washington, and though we've yet to reach the same on federal level, it seems that we are witnessing in real time the birth of our industry's very first corporations achieving the most coveted informal designation in global capitalism, being too big to fail. Florida-based TrueLeave Cannabis announced yesterday it has agreed to study the potential hazards of ground marijuana dust, a substance more commonly known to global enthusiasts as keef, as a result of the MSO settlement reached with OSHA stemming from the January death of Lorna McMurray. Lorna was a 27 suddenly mid-shift at TrueLeave's 80,000 square foot Holyoke, Massachusetts facility, the industry's first official death by cannabis. TrueLeave says that they expect their research into whether keef should be classified as a hazardous chemical to be completed by May 29th, 2023. And experts say the results could have enormous widespread impacts on the industry as a whole. TrueLeave says that they will be doing it they will additionally be creating temporary training program covering potential allergic reactions to keef and what to do if they ever arise. Public information on the settlement was released yesterday, revealing the MSO's heavy-handed punishment to also include paying a whopping fine of $14,000 and $14,502, which was reduced from the original $35,219. They will also be limiting on-site employee exposure to cannabis grinding where possible, increasing the presence of first aid trained workers, which for some reason just wasn't a thing thought of originally at an 80,000 square foot production facility. They'll also have to improve employee awareness of job transfers. And finally, in my opinion, the most draconian of all, they'll be forced to implement a new permanent training program, which they never had. MJ Biz Daily reported that under terms of the settlement, the two citations against TrueLeave, originally classified as quote-unquote serious, were also withdrawn, including the lack of safety data sheet, which OSHA requires for hazardous chemicals, and training employees under the agency's hazard communication standard. A final citation ordered TrueLeave to conduct a hazard analysis to replace their original citation identifying the standard for listing hazard chemicals. TrueLeave CEO Kim Rivers spoke out yesterday in defending the statement. Increased scale manufacturing in our industry is a relatively new endeavor, and we are determined to continually ask questions and seek answers to make our workplace the safest and healthiest it can possibly be. We already have many protections in place and intend to continue our work with the state and federal regulators to make sure workers are treated well. I want TrueLeave to be a great place to work, and I will do everything possible to keep it that way. Yeah. Massive political donations in targeting smaller, economically depressed cities as places to quote unquote save with a sudden explosion of high risk, low reward jobs is indeed doing everything possible to keep things the way that they are. And y'all can hate me if you want for this one, especially my liberal friends, but I saw it firsthand on the front lines in Chicago when I was fresh out of jail back in October 2007, bailed out by a college friend and athletic booster that got me an entry-level job in corporate finance to help turn my life around. It was then that our beloved 44th president and known man of the people, Barack Obama, chose to bail out Wall Street and not Main Street, setting precedent for limousine liberals everywhere. The TARP bailout not only allowed the same assholes who fucked up our entire economy to continue investigating and regulating themselves like we're seeing here, but also created the repeatable model we're seeing with TrueLeave 12 years later. And we're going to see this over and over again. It's coming into our industry. In the case of Lorna McMurray, as with all workplace-related deaths, OSHA was brought in to investigate. They concluded in their public summary, a TrueLeave employee was grinding cannabis and packaging into pre-rolled joints when she complained that she couldn't breathe. And then she said that she was, then they said that she was killed due to hazards of ground cannabis dust. In June, OSHA slapped Trulieve with 3 fines totaling over $35,000 for related violations, including one failure to adhere to federal regulations requiring companies maintain a written hazard communication plan, another citing failure to keep safety data sheets on hazardous chemicals, and a third for failure to complete information and training on said chemicals. The MSO swiftly contested all 3, and we haven't heard a peep out of them until yesterday. The problem with shutting down Trulieve's unsafe facility and publicly shaming them, as you think would happen in a case like this, is money. Local Massachusetts independent news source Shoestring at the time reported city officials in Holyoke bet big on the industry, working to attract cannabis businesses to the paper city's many vacant industrial properties. Holyoke was one of the first planned industrial cities in the U.S., providing local businesses and residents unbelievably low electricity rates, thanks to the city's dam and to the city's dam. That's not my shit. And municipal canal system. Cultivators were drawn in by access to abundantly available commercial property and cheap electricity, the 2 largest costs for indoor growers. Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission granted 72 licenses to retail, cultivation, manufacturing, businesses operating in Holyoke, nearly double the 37 given to Boston, New England's most populous city. At the time, Mayor Josh Garcia declined to comment, publicly claiming via text to reporters that he knew nothing about the incident, and he hasn't said much either since. But what's most unsettling about this is McMurray's death was Trulieve's 3rd major OSHA violation in 3 years. 2019, they were cited for violating respiratory protection and hazardous communication regulations at their Florida grow facility. This March, they settled another one in Reading, Pennsylvania, for failing to report an employee's inpatient hospitalization, amputation, and loss of an eye. We all knew as the industry grew, and with the expansion of large corporations building massive facilities globally, it was just a matter of time before we'd hear of the first on-site deaths. But when I first covered this story in October, I argued it'd be an easy case to make in favor of unionization efforts, at least for large cultivation facilities or potentially hazardous jobs across the cannabis supply chain. And they didn't, but if her family chose to fight for monetary damages against a multi-billion-dollar giant who became their hometown savior after bringing much-needed jobs and tax revenue to a dying industrial town, they wouldn't have had to do it. They would have had to do it alone. This is what corporate capitalism looks like, and it's why unions are needed as a necessary check against it, to protect those without the means to do it all on their own. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High and 9 News. Love to hear what you guys have to say about this one.
Very quickly, Rico, asking Trulieve to do research into this matter is like asking repeat offender Wells Fargo to research how to not screw your own customers.
100%.
Well,
Yep.
I got a question here. Because it is quite common for companies and folks to do their own investigations. Is that what they're doing? Nobody asked them to do an investigation. I'm sure there is a real investigation going on, and these guys are also doing also an internal investigation on their own. And I do agree. I think the fines are ridiculous. I think lowering it to $14,000. Are you kidding me? But I also wonder if this is a failure of just how the markets are set up when you say too big to fail. I mean, we need free markets. You can't have limiting because then when one of these monster behemoth companies go down, you're going to take markets with you, and which is not feasible for a number of these states. We need the free markets and let them go down. And Trulieve absolutely should answer for this. I'm amazed they've gotten away with this so much with how much everybody just wants to shut cannabis down to begin with. I'm surprised there's not some crazy lawmaker out there trying to put him down.
And I think Trulieve just got a whole bunch of funding. They ought to be paying a huge settlement to the family of this woman who was, wrongfully killed on the job. But I think because of the way our federal labor laws are set up, that they may have immunity. The company Trulieve may have immunity from being accountable. But they, in a just world, they'd be paying a settlement of like $50 million for such egregious, I guess, just carelessness that resulted in the death of this woman. It just sounds like they didn't give a shit. I read that their safety manager got a promotion after this death, and it's just outrageous.
Big ups to Mike Crawford and the young jerks out in Massachusetts doing the damn thing. It's my homeboy out there, and you can actually go on to their page or on YouTube, or see them on Twitter. They actually had a great interview with the father, and like right after the shit happened, and you could hear the pain in his voice, but he couldn't say shit. Can you imagine being in a rundown city, wherever in the U.S., wherever the fuck you guys are, being in a rundown city, it's never had any money come through it, and then all of a sudden, a big-ass company comes through and creates jobs and opportunities for everybody. You think everything's great, and they start killing off all of your friends. Start killing them off. How are you going to fight back against that?
That's why unions are key.
Yeah, straight up, man.
Unions are key, and federal legalization is key. We need regulations. Yes. And for all the folks out there who don't think we do, this is a prime example. There's got to be some regulation of this industry.
You just got to have some kind of checks and balances there, man. Like I'm all for it. Listen, I am.
Too many loopholes, too many gray areas.
Anarcho-capitalist. I am an anarcho-capitalist. I say burn this shit down, but I want everybody to have at least the opportunity to make as much as possible. But you got to have checks and balances, straight up. You got to. And this is it just pains me to even talk about this. The first death came from some bullshit like this, and anybody operating an 80,000 square foot facility, and you have no standard safety protocols. Like, what the fuck is that, man?
Yeah, it's a crazy world out there. Crazy world out there. Do we have Nick? Is Nick in Clubhouse?
What you got, Nick?
Yes, I am.
Is Nice. Nick in Clubhouse? What do you have to say about this?
So I'm working with a company called Airbox, and right now we're in the beginning stages of a case study with 3 different licenses or facility types in California. A cultivation that has manufacturing, very similar to the Trulieve facility at a much smaller scale, a large warehouse delivery, and a consumption space. It's a private event space. And we're doing some testing on particulate matter, VOCs, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde. The monitors that we've installed test for a number of different airborne contaminants. So I'm really excited to share with the group over the next couple of weeks when we get some more solid data points. But the company that I'm working with comes from building clean rooms, and they're really focused on the cannabis industry right now since my joining their team. And we're really excited to help set the standards across the board for clean air in cannabis facilities and help write some of these regulations for the consumption space. So yeah, stay tuned. And if anybody has any questions, I left the links for our website in both Clubhouse and the YouTube chat.
Hey, Nick, real quick before you hop off, Nick, how do you think that this could have been, being a specialist in that space or being more well-versed in this space, what is one thing that they could have done better?
So one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is when you're putting filters into your HVAC system and think that that's going to be doing something for your ventilation, you need HEPA filtration, and HEPA filters don't go into HVAC systems or even into your ducting in most applications, because the amount of restriction that you get from collecting those type of particles would damage the CFM rating in that facility. So we utilize a lot of supplemental air purifiers in spaces so that you're not really affecting your airspace or your ventilation space. We also have like an inducting unit that is powered on its own so that it's not going to interfere with your CFM of your HVAC units. So we have microcontamination engineers on staff that will look at your building schematics, your specific use types, your occupancy levels, and they will build you a safe air plan for each room in your building that takes into account your city and state regulations, OSHA and ASHRAE regulations, so that you know that you have a safe workspace. And then we also have these monitors. So
I think we lost you, Nick.
Sorry, my headset's going low. So that you can have historic data. So if any of these regulators come into your facility, we'll be able to produce that data for them so that you can show, it's not just now that we're doing this. It's an ongoing process where we're providing a clean, safe working environment for our employees. So
Love that, man. Appreciate you, Nick. Much love to everybody. Jason, you gonna take us out, man.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Where
You
can
have
we find you? If someone wants to get a hold of your company, how do they get a hold of you?
Yes.
Yeah, go to airboxdirect.com/compliance-series, and that'll get you to the cannabis specific site. Like I said, we provide air purification for all industries. So when I first got to the company, we were really focusing on government buildings and school districts. But we've really kind of pivoted and gone hard into the cannabis space over the last 2 months. So
clean air matters, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. I heard you guys. I heard you guys met Bong Burgundy over during MJ Biz, and he checked out your booth and talked with you. So, but we shall see. Thank you so much for that, Nick. Thank you guys all for getting high at 9 with us today and every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Thank you to all our haters for having nothing better than to talk about us and making sure that we have immaculate free residences in all of that space in your head. Thank you also to our sponsors, True Classic, LAXCC, and DNA Genetics. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis for a reason to do this. And thank you to Cloud and Zaza Simone for holding us down in Clubhouse. And thank you all for helping us create this safe space and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday. Everyone have a Merry Christmas. Make sure you go and hit that Twitter poll. Make sure you share it with your friends. We want to make sure that we bring back hashtag 420 and stop the silencing of free speech here in America. And you have been tuned in to the High at 9 Noon News Hour, America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Light up some Christmas trees.
Yes, run it at them.